Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll do a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I hope you added in there McCain. He was only a year older than me, but he had a lot more trials and tribulations than I did. And hopefully they'll let him rest in peace rather than carrying on like we've been carrying on. Roll call. Bob's here.
I am.
Lou's here. Doug is here. I'd like to change the schedule, if you don't mind. I'd like to go right into a executive session, and I will attend.
Is that your executive session for real property?
No.
Well, you don't have an executive session on here.
I know that, but we're going to have one. Either we can have it out in public. It doesn't matter how you go. We can.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is I was turned down several times on executive sessions because I didn't go to the county administrator, and I don't know why you get preferential treatment and I don't.
Did I turn you down?
Yes.
When?
It's been since you've been on the board.
Well, we can do it.
What's your executive session? I mean, is it on?
It's on
non-elected personnel.
Non-elected personnel.
Well, we can't have that in open session.
I bet you I can. So it's your choice.
I don't want to discuss non-elected personnel in open session.
No, I don't either.
I prefer not to either. So
we'll break the rules.
No, it's not a rule. I'll move to amend the agenda to have an executive session. How's that?
Okay. That's fine.
Are you going to make your motion on?
Yeah, if there's a second to my amending the...
Oh, I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. How you vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. I move that this board recess from open session and go into a closed executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel as justified by KSA 75-4319B1, and that this board resume open session in this meeting room at, I will say, 6:10.
6:10.
Yeah.
My word.
Your word's worth gold.
Okay.
That's what they always told me.
Okay, 6:10.
6:10 p.m. Present in the executive session will be Commissioners Robert Holland, Louis A. Klemp Jr., and Doug Smith, County Administrator Mark Lowry, Sr., County Councilor David Van Parish, Director of Public Works David Lujan, and Assistant Director of Public Works Sarah Schaefer, and the County Clerk Janet Klaczynski.
Are they present?
Yeah.
They're down there listening. They said they would be up.
Okay. And what time was this executive session going to begin?
At 20 till 6.
So we got 5 minutes for them to get up here. We need to call them?
Well, they said they would be listening. That's all I can say. And doors should open.
A second to that motion?
Yes.
I second it.
How you vote?
Aye.
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 Nobody answering? I shall return. No, I got it.
Are we holding this in here? In Mark's office? Huh? There we go. Okay.
Is there enough room in Mark's office?
I think we can get, how many was that? 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we can get 8 in there. I have to bring in some chairs. Well, we have to change time, won't we?
Yeah. I had to read.
I think, well, no, it says 38, excuse me. We can run fast.
I guess.
Go on.
No clerk? Well, the meeting will have to be without the clerk. Were you aware of that?
No, Commissioners, I think you don't need to amend the motion.
Okay.
Right now.
No, it's 38, so, okay. So we now have 7.
Well, I tried, but they wouldn't let me.
We should have. Oh, I thought Dan would leave. God dang it.
I'm going to leave after this. No, I'm not.
Well, volleyball starts at 7. Way more
We can
important.
still make it.
Not St. James. We are now back in regular meeting agenda and session, and the time is 6:10. The clock's wrong, but that's all right. We would like to come up with some kind of a,
We need to discuss no decisions were made.
yeah, no decision was made,
Executive session.
but we came up with some thoughts. And one of the thoughts is, how do we change this in the future? We're looking for legal aspect. How do we change it where everything is, that light is not in a good position, you know that? It shines right here. In the future, anything that is requested and has to be opened has to be done in the clerk's office with numerous participants. So if legal and the administrator can work on that and get us. Now, what problem would that commit to the one that now has the bid? Is that a situation? Can we reject that? Again?
So I do think you've already awarded it, so that would be something that Mr. Paris would have to get back to you on the problem.
Mr. Chairman, members of this commission, if I could, because I know you need to move your meeting, my understanding is you would like a report back to you in the very near future with respect to procedure and protocol for the handling of any RFQ, RFP, or strict bid. And by strict bid, I mean where bidding is required by statute. I detected the desire of the board to grant your department heads latitude in making decisions, but also to have, as I use the word, a protocol to follow to avoid misunderstandings in the future. Is my understanding correct?
Sound good to you? Okay.
Gentlemen, I'll undertake that.
Thank
Report
you.
back to you as soon as I feel I have something of substance.
Thank you.
One thing I would like the participants in this bid opening is I would like, no matter who's going to open the bids, I would like a representative from the office to be in there. In other words, just if you let the clerk open it up, we have to have more than just her, because she doesn't know exactly what she's looking at all the time, and there could be some things that the office that's bidding it does.
Commissioner Holland, just from a practical aspect, couldn't agree with you more, and I did not contemplate having the clerk do this in sterile.
Right, and I'm not downgrading the clerk. I'm just saying that I think anybody that puts a bid out should be in there as part of the group.
Gentlemen, as I said, I'll prepare proposed protocols for you to study and look at and have those to you in the very near future.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Public comment. Anybody want to have anything to say? Thank you. Administrative business.
Just have a few items. First of all, open enrollment for employees begins August 31st. They're using a little bit of different process this year for everyone. I don't know if any of the commissioners participate in utilize our benefits in any way. If so, you'll want to get with someone in human resources, schedule your time, or find out when the times are you can come in for an open enrollment. That's for any of the health insurance, life insurance, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Northeast Kansas officials meeting, which is county officials and I believe maybe some city officials, is scheduled for September 14th here in Leavenworth. We are hosting it this time around, which is kind of a big deal for us. The clerk and the register of deeds are coordinating.
Bless you.
I believe normally the chairman has to give a welcoming speech to that.
Yeah.
I've
I've
been
to a lot of those meetings.
Usually they have somebody, but the clerk will work with
Okay.
chairman.
Okay. And what's the date on that?
It's September 14th.
Okay, and you will remind me,
The clerk will be in touch with you.
because it's not high on my
You may
agenda.
have to get the trolley out to you.
Get the trolley out, I can
You
do
might
that.
have to do that.
Yeah.
GIS, Planning and Zoning and Emergency Management are working with FEMA on getting a flood rating for the county. Apparently this is something that is, it takes a little bit of time, but it's something we have all the information for, and it will allow those who have flood insurance to get a little better rate on their insurance program. The employee health assessment that we had last year, it was a pretty good success. We'll have again this year, November 2nd.
How many slots do they have this year?
We have 135 available, or no, 150 available. But they said if we have more than that want to participate, they can usually.
So we won't turn anybody down.
We're not going to turn.
Okay, that's good.
And I think Mr. Van Paris had something.
Mr. Chairman, members of this commission had previously authorized the retention of legal services for both Commissioners Klemp, Smith, and Commissioner Holland. The attorney for Commissioner Smith has contacted me. He's currently, and the agreement is currently with a law firm. That law firm is dissolving voluntarily, and I would need authorization to re-enter into a new contract with that attorney on an individual basis and spell out the responsibilities for the representation of Commissioner Smith in the general interest of the county, in the interest of not delaying certain ongoing litigation, and attempt to move it towards resolution.
Are they dissolving because of their client, or?
Probably.
I think it's all right. Is that all right with you?
You
Okay.
need a motion?
If you'd move to authorize as I discussed.
Move to authorize Mr. Van Paris to enter into the necessary agreement with David Hoffman.
Okay. I'll second that.
Oh,
Oh,
second.
okay. 2 seconds.
Okay.
How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen.
I just got one thing. I cannot make the Port Authority meeting tomorrow. So, I'm sorry. But Mr. Gutschall's here tonight. That'll suffice. That'll be sufficient.
He's probably happy.
Chairman,
Yes.
I do have a question. Commissioner Smith, is today not your birthday?
It is.
Oh, I didn't bring my razor strap.
Well,
That's all right.
if I may be so bold, on behalf of the citizens of Leavenworth County, I wish to wish you a happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Council.
Well, I hate to correct legal. It's not his birthday. It's his anniversary. You only have one birthday. Legal mind should remember that. So,
Slip of judgment on my part.
happy anniversary. Did you want us to sing?
No, that'd be fine, Commissioner. We'll pass on
I
that.
don't think they'd want us to.
Well, the people are out there waiting, aren't
Yeah. They're not waiting for me to sing.
they? Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? Okay. Minutes. The next item. Anybody got anything on the minutes?
I read through them, and I see nothing.
Well, I hate to let it go, but I think the ball's going to be hit at 7, so minutes look good. How about approval of next week?
No conflicts with me.
No? No conflicts with me either. A lot of money spent on roads on the check approval, and we ended up with $1,232,119.06. And just one quick one, 806,000 went to 147th Street. That's the only thing, bring forth the total amount, unless somebody wants to bring forth something else.
Well, there's something I wanted to bring forward, if I can find it real quick.
While you're looking, I'll say EMS vehicle maintenance was $4,000, 4.5. Are most of these under warranty? Does anybody know off the top of their head? If you don't know, check with that and get back
I
on
don't
it.
know if they're under warranty. I think the vehicle maintenance and supplies, though, is more of the tires, oil changes, belts, lights, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I will check on
Yeah,
that.
check on that a little more in depth. Appreciate it. Inmates are eating good. Did you find yours yet? What's the Douglas
No.
County criminal?
I can't seem to find it, that's all right.
Anybody- or Douglas County criminal Justic.
I think we're taking
Taking some people down there.
people down there
We're
for,
full.
we're full.
Oh, we're full.
Yeah.
Well, it might be on the juvenile
Yeah.
It's
side.
juvenile
Yeah,
side.
it's the juvenile side.
Okay. So, and the last item on there is approve and sign the OCBs. I'll go for a motion of for the
Make a
consent.
motion that the chairman sign and date the OCBs.
Okay.
This would approve the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda in total.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
it's been moved for the consent agenda?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Yeah, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next item is formal board action. Formal board action? What's that got to do with life? Is there any formal board action? We just went through an informal, I guess. Presentations and discussion items. Presentations are materials of general concern. where no action or vote is requested or anticipated. And A, Leavenworth County Port Authority, we want to cancel that for 2 weeks from today. That's, oh, Dan's here. I didn't see you, Dan. If you'll come forward with your presentation, we would appreciate that, Dan.
Just
Yeah.
before he gets, all you get
Yes,
the letter from the
absolutely.
Alliance, I thought
Things
that
are
was
going
real
good.
well.
Yes.
was
That
good
is
news.
really, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Thank
very
you, Bob.
much so.
Appreciate
For
that.
something that
I wanted to bring that forward.
was kind of down in the dumps, it's coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm very thrilled
Yeah.
that it is.
Well, as you travel around the country, it's amazing what you'll see on these, like CASA. I was just out in Phoenix, and man, everybody's doing these things. But they're not going to the county and asking for 2 meals for Northeast Mental Health.
No, but they're asking.
Okay. Leavenworth
Also-
County Port Authority.
Okay, Commissioners, thanks for the time you're giving me tonight. I really sincerely appreciate it. Also, I want to thank you for your service to Leavenworth County. I know your job isn't always pleasant and comfortable, and I know you have to make hard decisions from time to time, and I know that isn't pleasant, and I appreciate the fact that you serve your communities the way you do. And I want you to know it doesn't go unnoticed and unappreciated by everybody, at least.
Thank you, Dan.
We want to thank you for that. As you know, I'm a volunteer for the chairman of the special committee to research and report back to the Port Authority on an incentive program to help develop industrial, commercial development in Leavenworth County. On your screen there is the committee that was appointed by the Port Authority. We had an ex officio member from every community on the committee. Mark represented very well, I might add, for your position at the Leavenworth County. I know Commissioner Klemp, you've been to a couple of our meetings. Commissioner Smith, I think you've been to a couple of our meetings. And it's been a process that's been going on since February, and we've been meeting regularly, and we hope to have the official report to the Port Authority here in September. But one of the processes that we require as a committee is that we get out to all the participants and get their feedback and their input. And that's what I'm here for tonight. I want to explain the program to you. I want your opinions, good and bad, about this particular program and what we're doing. We still have a little bit of time to amend it if we need to before we make the presentation. So we're out asking first so that we can get these changes made. So when we present it, we have represented all of our communities. I've already been to Basehor, I've already been to Lansing, I've already been to the city of Leavenworth. Tonganoxie's next week, and you are tonight. So if you follow the slides there, we decided committee goal was to expand the industrial tax base and improve employment opportunities in Leavenworth County residents by increasing the industrial building construction. And then we wanted to provide an incentive that has a balanced funding between public and private sources that helps offset capital investment required for a smaller speculative building. I tell this story, if a person has a small operation and they're working out of their shed at home, and they've been growing it for several years, and they come to me as a banker and say, Dan, I need a 10,000 square foot building. I said, okay, I think that's going to cost you about $800,000 to buy and develop that, and they agree. And I say, I need 30% down to do that. That'll be roughly $250,000 down payment. And then there's a lot of laughter in the room, and they're laughing at me, and they say to me, Dan, I don't have $25, much less $250,000 for a building. The reason for that is as I grow my company each year, I take my profits and I use that to buy new equipment. I use that to buy additional inventory. I use that to pay payroll. And I'm not the size of a business that can accumulate cash for a building. So then it prompts me as a banker to say, well, why aren't the landlords of the world in Leavenworth County building buildings? And I go to them, and we did go to them, and we asked them, and they said, $250,000, right? That's what you need for that 10,000 square foot building as a down payment banker. And I said, yes, sir. And he says, I can take that $250,000 and invest it in residential real estate in Leavenworth County, and I can flip that money 10 times before I can get the same return on the commercial investment that I'm going to do. So we've identified a natural financial barrier that is preventing us from building buildings in Leavenworth County. This idea that we've come up with and we're going to present to you tonight is not the answer to all things. It's just another tool in the toolbox that we're going to use. We've already got, a crescent wrench. We've always got an adjustable wrench. We've got a hammer. We've got a big hammer. Now we're going to put a ball peen hammer in the toolbox. And that's what this is about in this particular case. Some interesting research. You, of all the groups that I talked to, are probably more in tune to this than anybody, but we took a report and looked at the assessed evaluation by category for Leavenworth County and all the surrounding counties of Leavenworth County. The blue bar in this particular chart represents the assessed evaluation for residential real estate. The green bar, which is the category commercial, which includes industrial, is the other category. You notice Leavenworth County has 72% of its assessed evaluation is residential real estate. Commercial is barely 15%. More importantly, the gap between those two is very, very wide. We look at other counties around us. Wyandotte County, that always surprised everybody when I showed this chart, but when you think of the Fairfax facilities that they have down in that industrial area and the Legends and some of their appraised value of the residential, they're more 50-50. Look at Johnson County. Everybody likes to be like Johnson County. You can see where their gap is. Why this is important, there's nothing wrong with being at 72%. It's not bad. It's just that for every dollar of taxes that you or any other taxing entity in Leavenworth County has to raise, 72 cents out of every dollar is paid by residential real estate. If we can increase the industrial development in Leavenworth County, as you know, the assessed value is at 25%, or roughly 2.5 times that of the residential, we can close that gap. And it takes a lot of the burden for increased taxes off of the residential. You've still got to pay them, but less of the percentage is going to be on residential real estate. Found that interesting. I don't know how you feel about it. Then we did another study. We compared the assessed evaluation in 2012 to 2018 to see how the numbers had changed. And being a banker that's very involved in residential real estate, I expected that number for residential real estate as a percent of the total to be increasing. It actually decreased during that period of time. Now the total dollar difference you'll see there between 2012 and 2018 was 68 million, which is the big number. And that's a good thing, because a lot of good things follow residential rooftops, mainly retail. And retail has to be housed in a commercial building. So, there are some positives associated with the rapid growth. We're strategically positioned to be we're in a very good position to continue this cycle for some years to come, because of the employment opportunities outside of Leavenworth County. The commercial, as you can see there, dropped 1.37% from 2012 to 2018. The one that did increase was the category for farm and farm home as a home site. I thought about that, and then I got to looking at the plat map of Leavenworth County, and it dawns on me. We got a lot of 20, 30, 40 acre farms with very high dollar homes and barns on them at this particular point for money sources that are not necessarily related to ag. And that's generated a lot of revenue in that particular area. And quite honestly, when I look at Leavenworth County, I see a very large city, the whole county. We are a city of dirt roads, septic tanks, and concentrated areas, AKA the cities. We had a lot of things coming down our way with roads and everything else. So the more industrial base that we can put in, the easier it's going to be, but it's going to be a Herculean task to do it either way. One of the things we did, if you look at the charts there on the bottom left-hand side, I said, what happens, how much assessed evaluation or assessed value would I have to have to get the 2018 difference to be at zero? It's at minus 1.37. If I get it to zero, how much would I have to put on the books? And it comes out $40 million. So between now and December 31st, if we put $40 million on the books, all things being equal, that difference in the commercial category, instead of being a negative 1.37, would be zero. Then we also took a look at the residential. What if we wanted to get the residential percentage to be 65%? Very similar to our surrounding communities. To do that, we'd have to put $108 million on the books in order to achieve that particular objective. So we just tried to quantify, where the differences in the industrial development right now, and this is my opinion, we're a little out of balance. There's nothing wrong with that. We just got to work to fix it and move forward in that particular direction. So then people ask, what is the incentive? Well, the incentive is an interest-free loan to offset the down payment for a speculative building. Not only is it interest-free, it's payment deferred. It's a second mortgage behind a lead bank. We're trying to pull capital into this process, and we're going to have to get the private entities to do that. So the way this basically works, when that individual comes into me and says, I want to build this 10,000 square foot building, I said, I need $250,000. He says, I don't have it. And I said, what if I could figure out a way for you, if we use this incentive, you only had to come up with about, say, $50,000. Could you pull that off? And now all of a sudden the barrier that was there starts shrinking. May or may not do it, but it's definitely lower. Same thing for the landlord investor. When they look at it and say, I can invest $50,000 and make this work, and I'll use this incentive. So how does it work? Basically, a lead bank would be ultimately responsible for about 70% of the debt. So if I was the lead bank, I'd make a loan 70% of the value. Another 25% or so comes from this incentive money. And the last 5% or so comes from the individual out of their pocket. This way we've maximized all the resources to do that. There's some things up there, there's some triggering events that happen if it doesn't pay out like it normally would, because normally they would pay off the lead bank, and whenever that's paid off, whatever the payment they were paying me, they now pay on the incentive loan to pay it back. There are some other things. If they sell the property before that happens, they got to pay off the second mortgage. If they modify and refinance, they're 10 years into the deal, the business is busting at the seams again, they want to build another building, and they'll come back to me and we want to refinance, they got some equity, we do that, we're going to require them to pay, we being the Port Authority is going to require them to pay off that second mortgage. Another problem is if the participant defaults on the mortgage, then I as a lead bank is probably going to end up foreclosing on that particular piece of property and recapturing as much of my money as I can. What's ever left over, the second mortgage gets it. In most cases, the second mortgage is going to be out of luck, particularly if it goes to a sheriff's sale, which foreclosure does. If there's a situation where the first mortgage may be paid off and we're getting paid back, so we put the caveats 4 and 5 in there as controls to make sure the taxes continue to get paid and the building is insured and continues to be repaid. The incentive is capped at $200,000, so you'll hear me use the words, this project is very scalable. Our examples here are 10,000 square foot buildings, but it can go to 40 and above if they wanted to. And I'll explain why somebody might want to consider this program for $40,000 in just a minute. Here is the predetermined formula that will be used to determine the amount of the incentive. So they come to us, they have their drawings, they have their bids, and they say to buy the land and build this building. In this particular example, it's $782,482. We take it times the assessed valuation times the mill levy. In this particular case, we use Lansing as an example. Their composite mill levy is 148 mills. That building in year one will generate $29,004 worth, or $24 worth of annual taxes. Then we look at it and said, if they paid that every year for 10 years, how much would that be worth today? So we did a present value calculation for 10 years at 3%, and we come up with a number, and that's what you see there in the middle of that chart. We add all those up, they added up to $247,577, and then we take it at 75%. That figure is also capped in this process. So in this particular example, and the reality will be totally different, but in this example, the incentive money would be $185,683. That's what the incentive loan would be for this particular participant in this particular example. There's going to be a component where we come back to the entities that are receiving the tax benefit to ask them to help us offset the cost of these buildings. here's the deal. We can't make you do anything. All we can do is ask. Port Authority has about enough money to do 2 of these projects, and then they're going to be broke. We're trying to do what we do best in Leavenworth County and work together and share our resources in this particular case. When we come to you, if we come to you, which we would, in this particular example, we would ask you for $46,760 for a building that's already standing. It's already been built, it's already been financed, and it's already up and running. So you know it's a done deal. It's not a promise for a building, it is a completed building. And we'll ask you for a donation, because that is your tax equivalent number in that formula up above. We're going to go to the city where it's located. Doesn't matter. In this case, it's Lansing. We'll ask them in their case $52,000, and then the Port Authority will shoulder $86,915. Now, up front, the Port Authority shoulders 100% of all this money. It's built. After it's built, then we come and ask. And we're going to tell you when we start. We're going to come and say, I've got this building, this person's going to do it, it's going to cost this much, your incentive is going to be this amount, but I won't be back with my handout for a check for probably 9 months. That gives you an opportunity to budget, if necessary, for that particular amount, if you're somewhat in agreement with the plan. You can work that in your budget. If we need to delay it so that that can happen, we can do that as well. We will work with the cities in the county. When I say we, the Port Authority will work with the cities and county help offset this. This program is not a tax abatement program. If the cities want to do that in addition to this program, they're welcome to do that. This is not a replacement of any other program. This is one on top of it. Any questions so far?
Do any entities get anything back ever?
Do the entities get any money? Yes.
You got 3 entities here, city, county, and Port Authority. Do they
Yes.
ever get money back?
Yes, you get. Oh, you get $29,024 every year.
Okay.
Every year starting in year 1. So the payback for the actual investment is about 6 to 8 years, depending upon the numbers and how they work.
Tax-wise, and the city the same way, but the Port Authority doesn't.
Port Authority, they'll get, if it gets paid back, they'll get their $86,915 back when the loans are paid back. That's when they'll get their money. So they're on the hook the whole way. So if anything fails in the process, they eat it. Now, here's the beauty of this deal. Let's say I come to you and you agreed and you paid the $46,760.24 to me. And 2 years later, the tenant fails and defaults and forecloses. I foreclose on that. Guess who pays the taxes that year?
You.
Hey. Next year, when there's a new owner or a new tenant or whatever, guess who pays the taxes? They do. So every year, taxes are going to be assessed against that building. Every year, the entities, as a public representative, protector of the money, you're going to get money back every year. There's no contingency here for increased sales or sales tax or anything else. As long as that building's standing vertical, you're going to get paid. And you're going to probably get paid for 40 or 50 years, depending upon the useful life of the building. So you figure your percentage, let's see, you look up there at the county, you're going to get $7,308.97 for 40 years. And the city, in this case, would get $8,129.21 for 40 years for their contribution that you see down there in the bottom half of the chart. Good question. Any others?
Does a program like this, does it require an Attorney General opinion on public-private partnerships?
Or
do you have a legal opinion on this?
We are getting a legal opinion at this point to make sure there's no conflicts with the Port Authority and with Kansas statutes.
Okay.
We have not looked into the public-private scenario. We're waiting for that opinion, and it's expected within the next 2 or 3 weeks on that. If it comes back there's a conflict someplace, we're going to fix it, make it right. We're also going to take an abundance of caution, and we're going to ask for Attorney General's opinion on it before anybody else does.
Okay.
And we're going to go through that process. That takes 6 to 9 months. designed the program, Mark, you can help me make sure I'm saying this right. We designed the process to avoid Attorney General's opinion up front. Not because we don't want the Attorney General's opinion up front, but because it takes 6 to 9 months to get that opinion, and that kills the deal. We can't do anything until we get that opinion back. And that makes it difficult, if not impossible, on getting coordinated with the buildings. So our approach is the Port Authority is going to take everything up front, shoulder 100% on their back, and then later, after the building's built, we're going to ask for a donation from you. That's what it's going to be called, basically to reimburse us for some of the expenses associated with that building. And it's our understanding that that does not require Attorney General's opinion. Mark, did I say that right?
I think that's the attempt.
I saw you do what I call a mark movement, like you want to say something, so.
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation of it, because there will not be an agreement between the county and either of these entities, LCDC or the Port Authority, on this. We wouldn't be involved in any Attorney General's opinion. They would be coming to us after the fact, asking us
For the money.
To refund.
That's how I perceived it also.
It would be handled during the budget process. So they wouldn't come in and necessarily and say, I need $46,000 today. They would say, we would like that $46,000, and then the county would have the opportunity to budget it for the following year.
So it'd be no more different than the outside agencies coming in for
It'd be very similar. Well, the Port Authority or an LCDC already come in and asked that
Right.
for funding, so that
So
would
it'd be the same scenario.
be where it comes.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's so successful that we have to worry about it, then that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
We'll worry about that when the time comes.
Exactly.
I hope we do have that problem.
The only
Those are
concern,
the ones we want.
The only concern, I mean, in this process that we've been through, and I have voiced this in these meetings, and you just don't know, is that a city may come in and decide to grant an abatement, in which case then we lose the opportunity to regain the taxes. I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. It's just that's the one concern in this that I would have, because we can't really block a city from granting tax abatements. We don't have that ability. So that'd be my only concern. And on these smaller projects, they don't typically get the tax abatement, but they could.
But, no, they do.
Well, they did have one recently that.
There's a square block down there they got, but they haven't
This
paid.
very question came up when I was visiting with Lansing. And their industrial park that they have is in the neighborhood revitalization zone that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the math on that and figured out what your return is with that particular abatement, which is a 10-year laddered abatement. And it goes from 6 to 8 years to 15 years. Now that's getting repaid for your investment. Keep in mind, the cash flow occurs every year. There's a difference between cash flow and getting repaid for your investment. So you're going to get cash flow from day one. It's going to come in. And because you funded the money up front, you're not going to pay that back to that fund you took it out of. You're going to get your $7,308 in this example to put in your general fund in year one and every year thereafter, unless the abatement comes in, and that will be deferred depending upon what the abatement arrangement is with the city, because they can incent.
Of course, the cities could always, well, in this case, Lansing, I don't want to pick on Lansing, they could always give the $46,760.24 also, couldn't they?
Anything's possible.
Yep. So if they got an abatement, you know, because we recently had a 1 square block at 20th and Spruce. They got an abatement, but they also have to charge 11.9% interest, not interest, sales tax. But we don't get any of that. So.
Moving on, because I know you got some deadlines here that we got to adhere to. There are 2 options that a participant can use. We resurrected a very old and very successful incentive. It's not new. It's been around. We've used it before, and that is sales tax abatement on the building materials for the building. If they choose to do that, it opens up a different set of procedures that has to be followed. And that is the Port Authority has to buy the ground. Port Authority has to bid out the building to get it built. Port Authority has to build the building and be in control of that process. And And once it's built, then they sell to LCDC, who in turn sells it to the participant. But the key by statute is the Port Authority has to be in control. It has to own the property, has to own the building until it's ready to sell. Other than that, it's pretty simple. The other option is we're not going to do that. But here's where this incentive can be attractive to someone that wants to put a 40,000 square foot building in one of our industrial parks. You put a 40,000 square foot building up, it's roughly $3.5 million to do that. You're still going to, half of that, we'll round it to $1.5 million. If you get sales tax on that, that's $135,000 to $140,000 savings in sales tax. Plus you'll probably get $200,000 from this. Why we brought this. So the program is scalable to all size buildings. We capped it because we don't have unlimited resources. I would love to have that, but we don't. So that's why we capped it at $200,000, so we can get as much bang for our buck as we possibly can. But we try to keep it scalable and open for those that want to come in and build the bigger buildings and see if we can provide an incentive for them. This next slide shows how the money flows in option 1. That's where the Port Authority builds the building. So it shows how the loans are created. The Port Authority gets its own loan for $782,482. They get a loan for $547,737. They use $234,000 of their own money, and they build the building. Now they got to go through an RFQ process. They got to select a contractor. They got to build the building. They got to pay the bills. They got to do everything. When they're done, they're going to go. They're going to sell that building to the LCDC. LCDC is going to pay for it with the participants in loan. The participants in loan is the loan with the bank. And they're going to go to the bank and they're going to get that $547,737, which represents 70% of the cost. They're going to throw $49,000 of their own money in this, and the incentive was $185,683. That's where all the money comes from in the end. So LCDC sells it to the participant occupies it, and then you see the last step is we come back, and that's where we ask for the contribution or donation in this particular case. So that's step 1. This is step 2, where you don't use the Port Authority at all. The participant says, look, I want to build my building. I want to be my own contractor. I think I can build it cheaper than anybody can on a bid, and I want to control it. Whatever the reasoning is, they want to do that. We can accommodate that. And that's kind of how the money flows in that particular situation. Like anything with money, yeah, there's risk. And I'd like to tell you I can think of every scenario out there, but I can't. I'm not take that. But if the participant defaults on the first mortgage resulting in foreclosure, there's a very good likelihood the Port Authority is going to lose the incentive money. All of it, in that particular case. Building will still stand. You'll still get paid, but the incentive money won't get repaid. So the tax base will continue, and you'll continue in that area. City and or county does not contribute. Like I say, we can ask, but you can say, Dan, we love your idea. Dan, we think it's a great idea, but we're broke. We don't have it. Or Dan, you're full of beans, and we just don't think we want to do it. So no. So if you don't, then it all shoulders on LCD and the Port Authority. And like I say, they can do that, but they can only do a couple of them. And after that, they're broke. And they'll be asking you for more money on the annual contributions to try to build up the coffers so they can do
When this takes place, there may not be anybody up here who will tell you you're full of beans.
Well, you never know.
But I'll leave a note up here.
Okay, I appreciate that. Don't want to leave any stone unturned. If the participant is unable to sell the property or achieve the required lease rates, it's just going to probably take longer before we get repaid. It's going to require some workouts. And it's just going to take longer than what we anticipated. So those are some of the risks that we know of for LCDC and the Port Authority. For you and the cities that are involved, as long as the building stands vertical, you are assured a real estate tax assessment, and regardless of who owns the building. If they don't pay, you'll take them to tax sale, and somebody else owns the building, and they'll start paying the taxes. So you've got a revenue stream for a useful life, 40 to 50 years involved in this particular situation. Unlike other common incentives, because when you say incentives, it conjures up a lot of connotations in people's minds. This one has nothing to do with retail sales tax or other contingent performance requirements. It's solely based on the real estate taxes that are assessed against the building. The incentive is for the building and not the participant. Is ownership's going to change over that 40-year, but regardless of the ownership, somebody pays the real estate taxes. So when some of our communities are giving me feedback, well, I don't know if I want to fund somebody, and like I tell them, I said, you're funding a building. It doesn't matter who occupies it, as long as they pay the taxes. That's what you're after. So the more buildings we can go vertical, the more we can close that gap between the blue line and the green line in this particular scenario. And that's ultimately what our goal is here, is get as many buildings in the air. With that, I'm going to open the floor for questions. I gave you 6 minutes left here before 7 o'clock.
Option 1. Now, this is all cleared legal, right? By doing the Port Authority, the LCDC, and back and forth.
That is under review right now.
Oh, that's under review?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've retained the services of Mark Russell out of Overland Park, who is a Leavenworth County former resident, real nice gentleman. I met with him about a week ago, and we're starting that particular process.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that is all legitimate. And he will probably be the one we'll call on to draw up contracts between the Port Authority and LCDC, because LCDC is going to have a contract with the Port Authority, so it's going to be a contract and that type of thing.
Okay.
Good question.
Oh,
Any others?
I think one thing that maybe didn't mention, because it's an industrial incentive program, but it could be utilized for commercial development as well. It's just industrial would give first preference.
There is a priority process which we don't have in this particular presentation, but yeah, there is actually a pathway for retail, pathway for commercial, and a pathway for industrial. We're going to be leaning toward industrial because that's what we do. But if we don't have any offers for industrial, then we got a retail, and that's the only one we got because it's really kind of a commercial building. As long as we're putting a building in the air, we're probably going to go with that. So there's actually a way for retail. And like I say, I hope there's a lot of opportunity here. We are going to give Leavenworth County residents first priority over participation. So if we get someone from out of town that wants to do something in our county, we welcome that, we'll encourage that, but if someone from Leavenworth County puts an application in, that Leavenworth County resident's going to get priority over the out-of-town individual or entity.
now is who's pushing this for you? Is the organization out there, LCDC?
LCDC will be our lead contact for parties that are interested in it. There's going to be a one-page application that you got to fill out. There's going to be a lot of attachments to the one page, but it should be a very simple process to facilitate. Honestly, we're going to rely on the banks to vet our customers. With all due respect, I don't want somebody that has never done this before, that doesn't have the right resources, that have a high degree of default to them, and we're going to count on the banks to vet their repayment capacity, their collateral position, their credit history, their balance sheet support, all those components, to make sure that they have a quality person, because they're going to be on the hook, because they're going to be the first lien holder, or first mortgage holder on this deal, so they're going to do that naturally, and we're going to piggyback off of them. We are going to have some criteria that you've got to be in business for 5 years. Is one I can think of off the top of my head. Is one of the criteria we put in. There's a few more. I apologize, I don't have that here with me. Don't have it off the top of my head. So we're going to try to keep the worst case scenarios to an absolute minimum. But anybody's done this or worked with people that have done this, can't predict everything.
Right. Okay. I don't have anything. Thank you for coming, Dan.
Committee's put in a lot of time to come up with this.
Well,
Very good plan.
we don't give them too much credit, do we?
Well,
You answered
pretty much answered
one of my
it. You just
questions
thumbed through
at the
this,
very
it gives
end
an
there.
explanation of
How do we
everything.
know who's a good candidate for this position?
Right.
Because I've been in business for a long time,
Yeah.
and I've run across that many a times. And I wish I had the
This is one case where
capability of finding out somebody before I get in business with them.
we will require them to bring a commitment letter from a lead bank that says we will loan them the money. So if I'm the lead bank, I'm going to have to make that commitment. So when the building's built, they know we got a repayment source in that particular case. But yeah, you're right. We fought long and hard because we got another banker on the committee about whether we should do that or whether the bank should do that. And we felt the banks were in a better position. I will tell you that if they exercise option 1 and the lead bank is from out of town, we're going to use that bank for the Port Authority to borrow money from. And the reason for that is that bank knows that they're going to get repaid from the Port Authority loan from their client's deal. We'll parallel. We'll use that same theory locally as well. So if a client comes in and says, you know, I'm using XYZ Bank and I want to exercise the sales tax incentive, we'll go to XYZ Bank. We, being the Port Authority, will go to XYZ Bank to get the loan to build the building in that particular regard. Just makes it a little simpler and it has a lot more controls in place to make sure that we are as protected as we can get.
Very good. Thank you for coming. I'm anticipating.
Don't forget my note up there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the next item is executive session to discuss acquisition of real property.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board recess from open session and go into a closed executive session for the preliminary discussion of the acquisition of real property as justified by KSA 75-4319B6, and the board resume, go in executive session at 7 o'clock and resume by
5 minutes.
7:05.
We
The
can't
present
hardly
in
get in there.
executive session would be Commissioners Robert Holland, Doug Smith, Mark Lawfrey, and Senior County Counselor David Van Perrys, and Commissioner Clint, if he would like.
I appreciate you inviting me, but I hope I'm at my last one that I'll ever go to. Thank you. I'll second that.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We ready for,
Yes.
okay, we'll return to regular session.
Return to regular session.
No decisions were made,
Okay, no decisions were made.
and topic stuck to property acquisition.
Okay,
Discussion was limited to property acquisition.
okay. And that's it?
That's it.
You're all done?
No.
Commissioners, I would ask for a motion authorizing me to proceed as discussed in executive session to bring back to this board for adoption in open session any final agreement with respect to the acquisition of real property.
I'll move that we authorize the Senior County Counselor to continue negotiations with the property owner.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to have the senior county counselor proceed with the documentation and bring it back to us for approval. How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Move to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.